Many IELTS candidates lose marks in writing task 2, not because they can't write in English, but because they are not prepared for the topics that come up in the writing test. Here's the truth. Certain themes appear again and again in the test. If you prepare vocabulary, grammar structures, and key ideas for these topics in advance, you will be in a much stronger position when you sit down to write. We've helped thousands of students prepare this way through our IELTS packages. They discover how strategic preparation can completely change their results. In this video, we'll go through 10 common IELTS Writing Task 2 topics, and you'll get high-scoring vocabulary and grammar for each one. By the end, you'll know which topics to prepare for IELTS Writing Task 2. Let's get started. Topic number 1 is health. This topic comes up regularly in IELTS Writing Task 2, so it's essential that you prepare for it. Questions often focus on the causes of poor health in modern society. One common question is whether individuals or governments are responsible for public well-being. You could also be given a question about how lifestyle choices contribute to serious illness. Moreover, a common task type asks you to discuss both sides of an argument, such as whether junk food companies should be held responsible for rising obesity rates. Other questions ask you to present your own opinion on whether free healthcare should be available to everyone. It's extremely important that you know specific vocabulary for this topic. Learn words like preventable, sedentary lifestyle, and public health campaign. Don't simply write "people are not healthy." Instead, use more precise language like this. A growing proportion of the population leads an increasingly sedentary lifestyle. To showcase your grammar range, use cause and effect structures to explain the relationship between behavior and health outcomes. For example, because many people rely heavily on processed food for convenience, diet-related conditions such as type 2 diabetes have become far more prevalent. You can also use conditional sentences to discuss solutions. If governments invested more in preventative health care rather than treatment, the long-term burden on public health systems could be reduced considerably. Another effective technique is using the passive voice to present issues in a more academic way. For instance, billions of pounds are spent annually treating conditions that could have been avoided through better education and early intervention. Make sure you develop your arguments with specific evidence and logical reasoning. This allows you to show the examiners that your English is advanced. Topic number 2 is environment. Environmental questions appear frequently in IELTS Writing Task 2, and they can take many forms. Questions can focus on whether economic development should take priority over environmental protection. Some questions focus on what individuals can do to reduce their carbon footprint. Another common question is whether governments are doing enough to tackle climate change. Essential vocabulary includes words like carbon emissions, deforestation, renewable energy, and ecological damage. Don't simply write "the environment is being harmed." Instead, use more precise alternatives like this. The long-term consequences of unchecked pollution are becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. For grammar, use contrast structures to present a balanced argument. For example, while rapid industrialization has undeniably raised living standards for many, it has also placed enormous strain on the planet's natural resources. Moreover, demonstrate your grammar range with conditional sentences to discuss future consequences. If current levels of deforestation continue unchecked, vast areas of biodiversity could be lost within a generation. You can also use hedging language to present uncertain outcomes. Hedging means using words or phrases that show you are not completely certain about something. Take a look at this example. It seems increasingly likely that rising global temperatures will have severe consequences for food production and coastal communities in the coming decades. In this sentence, the phrases "it seems" and "increasingly likely" show that you are not completely certain about the effect of rising global temperatures. Topic number 3 is education. This topic comes up a lot in Task 2, and it covers a wide range of debates. One question type asks whether university education should be free. Some questions explore whether schools should place more emphasis on practical skills than academic study. Others look at whether technology is changing the way we learn in positive or negative ways. Key vocabulary includes critical thinking, academic achievement, vocational training, and higher education. Don't just write "education is very important." Instead, use more expressive language like this. A well-rounded education equips individuals with the skills and knowledge they need to contribute meaningfully to society. To showcase your grammar, use infinitives like this. Schools are designed not only to transmit knowledge, but also to develop the social and analytical skills that young people will rely on throughout their working lives. You can also use concession structures to acknowledge opposing views. Although online learning offers greater flexibility and accessibility, it cannot fully replicate the collaborative environment that traditional classrooms provide. By the way, if you want this channel to keep going, write yes in the comments, click like and subscribe. We only make videos that you actually want to watch. Now, let's continue with 7 more topics that are common in IELTS Writing Task 2. Topic number 4 is society and social issues. This is a broad topic that covers many questions. For instance, questions can ask you to discuss issues like income inequality. Some questions focus on the aging population. Others explore the role of community in modern life. Essential vocabulary includes social cohesion, marginalized communities, income disparity, and welfare system. Don't only use simple sentences like this. There is a big gap between rich and poor. Instead, use more precise language like this. Wealth inequality continues to widen in many developed nations, placing significant pressure on social mobility. To showcase your grammar range, use the passive voice. Many low-income families are being left behind by economic policies that disproportionately benefit the wealthy. You can also use result clauses to show the impact of social problems. Poverty is so deeply embedded in certain communities that breaking the cycle without significant government intervention has proven extremely difficult. Topic number 5 is technology. Technology is one of the most common themes in Writing Task 2. It's a topic that requires you to think carefully about both the benefits and the drawbacks of modern developments. Some questions ask whether artificial intelligence is a threat to employment. Others focus on whether children are spending too much time on digital devices. You could also be given a question about whether technology is making people more isolated. For vocabulary, learn words like automation, digital connectivity, artificial intelligence, and social media. Don't simply say, technology is changing society. Instead, use more sophisticated alternatives like this. Rapid technological advancement is fundamentally reshaping the way people live, work, and communicate. Additionally, replace simple sentences with more advanced ones. Here is an example. The internet is useful. Digital platforms have democratized access to information in ways that were unimaginable just a few decades ago. To showcase your grammar range, use contrast structures to present a balanced view. While technology has created extraordinary opportunities for innovation and global collaboration, it has also raised serious concerns about privacy, mental health, and the displacement of workers. You can also use relative clauses to add detail. Artificial intelligence, which is already being used to automate tasks across sectors from medicine to manufacturing, will continue to transform the job market in the years ahead. Now, here is an important point. Many IELTS candidates think that if they know common writing topics, that's enough to achieve a high band score. But it is not enough. To score high on the IELTS writing test, you must know what the examiner is looking for. For example, you need to use advanced grammar correctly and understand what makes a high-scoring answer. That's exactly what we teach in our IELTS packages. Our students get step-by-step guidance on how to give high-scoring answers, so they feel confident and ready on test day. They learn how the IELTS examiners assess their performance and what they need to do to meet all the criteria. Our IELTS packages include lessons for all tasks, high-scoring sample answers, practice tests, and much more. If you're serious about achieving the IELTS score you need, click the link below to learn more. Topic number 6 is work, jobs, and careers. This is a topic that comes up regularly in the writing test. Some questions explore whether job satisfaction matters more than salary. Others ask whether remote working has more advantages than disadvantages. You might also encounter a question about how governments should respond to rising unemployment. For vocabulary, learn words like work-life balance, redundancy, flexible working, and employment prospects. Don't simply write "people want good jobs." Instead, use more precise sentences like this. Many workers are placing greater value on professional fulfillment and personal well-being than on financial compensation alone. To showcase your grammar, use present perfect tenses. Check out this example. The nature of employment has shifted considerably over the past 2 decades, with the rise of short-term contracts and self-employment changing what it means to have a stable career. You can also use purpose structures, as you can see here. Many organizations have introduced flexible working arrangements in order to attract and retain talented employees who value autonomy over a fixed 9-to-5 schedule. Topic number 7 is travel and tourism. Some questions ask whether mass tourism does more harm than good. Others focus on whether low-cost air travel should be restricted for environmental reasons. You could also be given a question about how tourism affects local cultures and economies. For vocabulary, learn words like cultural exchange, heritage site, ecotourism, and carbon footprint. Avoid writing simple sentences only. Instead, use more advanced language. For instance, tourism is good for the economy. This becomes, the tourism industry generates significant revenue for local economies and creates employment opportunities across a wide range of sectors. Also, don't simply write tourism causes problems. Instead, use a broader range of vocabulary like this. The rapid growth of mass tourism has placed considerable strain on fragile environments, local infrastructure, and traditional communities. To showcase your grammar range, use concession structures to acknowledge both sides of the debate. Even though international travel broadens people's cultural understanding and strengthens economic ties between nations, the environmental cost of mass air travel is becoming increasingly difficult to justify. Let's continue with topic number 8, government spending and public policy. This is a topic where Band 7, 8, and 9 candidates really stand out, because it requires you to discuss complex ideas about how societies are organized and funded. Questions can focus on whether governments should spend more on healthcare or education. Some questions focus on whether public money should be used to support the arts. Others explore whether wealthy countries have a responsibility to provide aid to developing nations. Essential vocabulary includes public expenditure, national budget, welfare state, and foreign aid. Don't just write, "The government should spend money on important things." Instead, use language like this. Allocating public resources effectively is one of the most significant challenges facing modern governments. To showcase your grammar range, use modal verbs to discuss obligation and possibility. Governments could achieve far greater social impact by directing public funds towards early childhood development and mental health services, rather than purely reactive measures. Topic number 9 is media and advertising. You will encounter this topic across a range of question types in Writing Task 2. One common question is whether advertising has a negative influence on children. Some questions explore whether the media has too much power over public opinion. Others focus on whether social media does more harm than good in terms of how information is shared. For vocabulary, learn words like consumerism, media bias, misinformation, and targeted advertising. Don't simply write "advertising influences people." Make sure you use more precise language like this. Advertising plays a powerful role in shaping consumer behavior and reinforcing social values, particularly amongst younger audiences. To showcase your grammar range, use passive constructions. Take a look at this example. Consumers are constantly being exposed to carefully crafted messages designed to influence their choices, often without their awareness. You can also use result clauses like this one. The pressure to project a certain image on social media has become so intense that significant numbers of young people are experiencing serious anxiety and low self-esteem. Topic number 10 is culture, language, and globalization. Some questions ask whether globalization is causing local cultures to disappear. Others explore whether English should be adopted as a universal language for business and education. You could also be given a question about whether preserving minority languages is worth the cost. For vocabulary, learn words like cultural identity, linguistic diversity, homogenization, and cross-cultural exchange. Don't simply state globalization is changing the world. Instead, use more precise language like this. The rapid spread of globalization has prompted serious debate about whether increased interconnectedness enriches or erodes distinct cultural identities. Replace simple sentences with more complex ones. Here is a simple sentence. Small languages are disappearing. This becomes hundreds of minority languages are at risk of extinction as younger generations increasingly adopt dominant global languages in pursuit of economic opportunity. To showcase your grammar range, use the passive voice. Here is an example. Many traditional customs and practices are being gradually displaced by the values and products of a small number of dominant cultures. You can also use conditional sentences to explore what could be done. If governments committed to funding bilingual education and cultural preservation programs, it might be possible to maintain linguistic diversity without sacrificing economic development. Another effective technique is using hedging language when discussing complex or contested ideas. It could be argued that globalization comes at a considerable cultural cost for communities whose traditions are not easily reconciled with mainstream global norms. That's it! Those are 10 topics that are common in IELTS Writing Task 2. If you're serious about achieving the IELTS score you need, check out our IELTS packages using the link below. We provide step-by-step guidance, practice tests, templates, and everything you need to feel confident on test day. I hope you liked this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you're notified when the next video comes out. Also, share this video with your friends so they can improve their IELTS score too. See you in the next video!